Testing. Okay. Hello. And welcome to another Monday night stream. I'm going to say that again. Welcome to another Monday night stream. A few minutes late, but then usually am, so. As you can see, I've got a B-Wing loaded up. B-Wings are very specifically mentioned in the Battle of Sluis fan, so I thought I'd better include some. This is a much simpler model than the Y-Wing I was working on before. There are a couple of issues with it that I'll be fixing. As you can see here, this has got a transparent issue. The engine glows are missing, or the engines themselves are missing. This doesn't need to be a hugely detailed model, because I'm not going to get that close to it. And the Y-Wing is probably a bit excessive as well, actually, but I think this will work nicely. Yeah, there's some issues here as well, but I'll be working to fix those. And of course you can see the pilot inside. I don't think I can make him move, but you know, that's alright. What I may end up doing is making the canopy not transparent. But we'll see. One of the things I like about... I did look at several different B-Wing models. One of the things I like about this one is the wings are separate, which means I can animate them to open and close. Some of the other B-Wing models I looked at, it's all one piece, which means I can't do that. So I guess I'll get started. Gun port. Well, that solves that problem, just making it two-sided. Yep. Wonder if this works here as well. Nope. Right, let's go back to, let's go to the back. Two-sided. Nope, okay, that's fine. When I import this into iClone, I can put some little circles in there and make them glow. Not a problem at all. Let's try the grill at the front just to see if that one counts. Yeah, okay, I'll put something in there as well. Again, not a problem. And the last one I spotted was not the glass, the cockpit. Make that two-sided because you can see. Yeah, that's better. The struts of the canopy were transparent on the inside, and so if you look in through here, you could see that they were missing. Well, that was a quicker process than I expected. But that's alright. Now I need to make those invisible. Now there's a reason for this, is when I export it into iClone, one of the options is export visible, because I want to import the ship and the wings as separate objects. That way I can make them animate. I should do the same with the cockpit as well. So that's cockpit, yep. Canopy, yep. Oh, canopy is separate. I get floor, seat, cannons, and body. Yeah. So the cockpit can rotate as well. So let's export B-Wing. Let's call it B-Wing main. I hope everyone's alright this evening. Very quiet in the chat tonight. Right, so that's the main body done. Get a Robo Shinwin. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. It's a good day. Well, night here. Alright, so let's make everything invisible. Oh, that's that bit. Okay. Krogan, hello, welcome. Right, let's make this wing visible. Captain Spire, thank you so much for that support. You're right, it has been a while, but yeah, still working on the project. I always appreciate the super chat, so thank you so much, and it is good to see you. Using 3D Exchange instead of CC4. Well, I'm importing a ship, not a character model. I know that they've discontinued 3D Exchange. I still like it. You can do things that you can't necessarily do when you import directly to iClone. So I've still got it installed, and I still use it for stuff like this. Right, this wing. Turn that off. Now we need cockpit, canopy floor, seat, cannons, and the pilot. How's everyone's day going? It's been alright. Oh, hang on. Cannons need two-sided. Two-sided option. Yeah. You can import the ship into it. It has a function of 3DX. It just puts it into different places in the UI. Okay. Well, I'll try that, but not on stream. For this particular ship, I'm just going to carry on with the process I know. Okay. Now to load up iClone. It takes a moment. So we're just going to look at this blank cockpit for now. Krogan, how's your day going? And how's everyone else's day going? I'll look into it, but I'm not going to do it on stream. Because me trying to figure that out in iClone isn't going to make for the most. Where did the model come from? That is a good question. I found it in my collection of models that I've had for years, so I don't remember where it came from. I did download some newer ones, but this is the one that I actually like best for what I wanted. Is that a B-wing you're working on? Yeah, yes it is. Okay, so I'm going to... iClone is loaded up, so let me switch over to that. There we go. Just quickly close through the exchange. Don't need it anymore. Right, so I need to import B-wing main. Greater J1. Hello, welcome. I remember the old Lucasfilm website where you used to be able to download free models. That would be nice. I think I missed that, or maybe it was a feature when I wasn't that interested in... I mean, I was interested, I just didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't really take much notice. 3D modelling. Will we see it fire its main laser weapon? You mean the one in Rebels? Probably not. It wasn't mentioned in the book. It was before Disney. Yeah. When I was making Star Wars Machinima before, I was just using the games and mods. Because I didn't really know anything much about 3D modelling. So I just let other people do it. I can see now that I'm using iClone, I have to learn a bit more. I got a creaky chair. Alright, so we want pivot point in the middle. Just so that when I spin it, it's in the middle. There we go. And we're going to attach to the ship. That'll do. And then we get to this wing 4. The model called it wing 4, so I will too. And pivot point, that's not where it needs to be. Luckily, I can drag that. That looks about right. You should use the auto smooth option to make the smooths. Yeah, the thing about this is, because I'm using NVIDIA Omniverse, those smooth options don't transfer to those smooth options don't transfer over to Omniverse when I export it, so I don't bother with it anymore. Omniverse has its own smoothing options, which I will put in. I'll activate once it's in a completed scene. That's slightly off. Geek Squadron. Hey Darth, here's a link to the stream where Star Wars Theory talks about As the Empire Part Weapons is 2 minutes. Ah, thank you very much. Well, I'm not going to watch that on this stream, but I'm just copying that into my note. I'll be sure to check it out. And thank you again for your support with the super chat. I do appreciate that. And it's good to see you. Edit pivot point again. A little bit up. a little bit there. Right, let's try rotating it again. I think that should work. I know it's slightly off, but it's so slightly off that you're not going to notice it when the ship's moving around. I do appreciate all the advice on 3D Exchange though, but yeah, it's just the way Omniverse works. I wish more stuff would transfer directly from Omniverse to from iClone to Omniverse, because it'd make this so much easier, and specifically the soft fabric and hair. Obviously you've got characters with long hair, and we've got characters that wear floaty clothes like Leia's dress, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that work in Omniverse, but it's not simple. Which is why they haven't had those characters haven't had any soft materials. But something to work on and figure out. Captain Rex, hello and welcome. Well, I guess you have your reason for not using Unreal Engine. I did download it. I found the Epic launcher was so bloated that it slowed my system to a crawl, and that's before I even started Unreal. On the other hand, I really like NVIDIA Omniverse. It's very easy to take a completed scene and export it over to Omniverse. So obviously there are a couple of things that need adjustment, like the lighting and the smoothing materials, but the process of doing that is just so quick that it's not a problem. And obviously there's no soft fabric. I haven't figured that out yet, but we'll get there. Alright, that's the wings. I'd better attach them to the ship. Geek Squadron, I did see your comment about this the other day, and so I hope he enjoyed Heir to the Empire. It's nice to know that he watched it, and he watched it on the stream. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So the next thing to do is put in the missing details, which are the engines. I'm just going to put some circles in here that glow, and something in here because you're going to see right through to the other back of the ship. I'm working on a film right now in Unreal. I have a workflow that's pretty quick. I know I should probably look into Unreal again at some point. I just like the workflow with Omniverse. So does Unreal let you transfer the soft glass? So I got a creaky chair, just sat back to be a bit more comfortable. So we need cylinder. Yes, you can transfer the soft cloth over the wheel. Okay. I wonder if one answer is to render the soft cloth in Unreal and composite it onto the Omniverse footage. It's a bit of an elaborate method to do it, I suppose. Maybe I'll give it another try sometime, but I still really like Omniverse. Alright. Well, I think you can import Olympic. Yeah, I believe you can. I don't know. I haven't tried it specifically. I've just used the. I've just used the direct tool, but I have to look and try it. You can back the soft cloth in iClone and then export it to a new file into Omniverse. Alright, I'm going to try that after the stream. Bake. Yeah, I figured that's what you meant. Alright, duplicate that. And again. And again. That one is going through the nozzle just a little bit. Make sure these are all positioned nicely. Heart icon is a way to applaud. Why, thank you, Star Siege player. Reminds me of playing Tribes back in the day. Alright, let's attach those to the ship. I think that's the right colour. Maybe it needs to be a bit more red, but we'll give it a try. I can always adjust it later. I have no idea what any of this stuff is, but it's just fun watching you work and seeing the end result of your efforts. Well, that's very kind of you. I do like to show off the behind the scenes. So I was getting lots of questions about how I made it. So why don't I just show you guys? So I started doing these streams every Monday. Nearly 2 years ago now. I still have Luke Skywalker if you want it. Yeah, I'll be happy to play around with your Luke. I saw the picture you posted and it was a very impressive model. Alright, so next thing. I'm going to fill the middle bit in here. This is perhaps not the most exciting way to fill the gap. What are the B-wings and Y-wings for the last stream for Battle of Sluis fan? That's right. Y-wings aren't mentioned in the book, but I would assume they're going to be there. B-wings are specifically mentioned in the book though. And like the Battle of Bafash, I've taken what's in the book and I'm making it bigger because this is obviously film form rather than written pages, so it made sense to me to show more. So we're going to see a lot more of the battle. Still, everything that happens in the book is going to happen in this. There's going to be more of it. Without being too over the top, of course. I don't want to add stuff that makes no sense. Most thing on an outfit Luke had in Splinter Mind's eye. That was a good book. Although it's hard to read that one coming to it after. Obviously, it was written before The Empire Strikes Back, so everything that happened after that, it was a interesting read. It doesn't quite line up right, but that's fine. You know, it's still a good story. You just ignore the bits where it clashes. Very nice. Why is your Star Wars more accurate than Disney? I'm trying to figure out how to answer that question. I think what I'm trying to do is stick very closely to the book, Heir to the Empire, which was written when only the original trilogy existed. Disney came to it obviously after the prequels and after Clone Wars, and they wanted to tell their own stories. So I'm just duplicating this because I want to fill in those gaps too, but also like that, and move it back a little bit. So yeah, Disney wants to tell their own stories, and I think the mistake they made is not having one person oversee everything to make sure what they were doing all lines up. I know I've got the story group, but the story group feels more like they try and make what's made fit rather than ensure what's made actually makes sense and fits together. It's more like they wait for it to be finished and then they say, actually this is how it fits, and so on. Because they kind of let the directors have free reign to do whatever they wanted without someone making sure that it works with everything else. It's kind of like Kevin Feige in the MCU. He's involved with every project to make sure that it works with everything else. And Disney and Star Wars needed something. They needed someone like that, and they didn't have it. So the directors went off and did their own thing. That's my take on it anyway. Okay, so that... I know these are just basic blocks I just put in there that aren't textured, but when you see the ship like that, and it's going to be moving, you're not going to see that closely, although of course all of you guys watching this will know that it's there. So I'm going to attach those to the ship. Yep. Now what I should do is quickly save it. More faithful perhaps. Maybe. I guess that's one way to look at it. And they wanted to get rid of the odd characters like Luke there so they could make their own characters, which obviously upset people who care about the odd characters. Strange decisions. Well, I think part of it is the actors playing the original characters are not as young as they used to be. So I can see the appeal of why they might want to bring in new people. Oh, hang on. That was a bit transparent there, had to stop that. I heard they banned offset one of the films. They could have used him to keep the story consistent, but they banned him. There are lots of rumours going around. I don't know which ones are true or not, so I prefer not to speculate because who knows. Well, there are photos of him actually on some of the sets, so yeah, again, I don't know what's real or not. I know that there are lots of people out there who do create rumours and stories about things that may or may not be true. And because there's so many, well, they create stories that aren't true, but because there's so many of them, it's hard to know what is and isn't true. That's what I should say. That's better. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Save it again. Mid-Temple. That makes sense. I never knew that there was so much hate with them. I never would have known about Star Wars if it hadn't been for them, but I get a lot of hostility when I say which is shocking. Well, the way I view this channel is obviously this is a story based on the expanded universe, which Disney cast aside, well, set aside, let's say, to tell their own stories, and I can understand why they would want to do that. Because if you make a new trilogy after all the books, you have to try and figure out how to make that work in a way that people who haven't necessarily read all of those books can follow it, but people who have read all the books get a lot out of it as well. And the books kind of reached a point where even the next generation of characters had a lot of stories written about them. So I can see why they did that. If it was me, I might have done the same thing, but I would have rebranded Expanded Universe as Legends, like they did, but I would have not stopped producing content for it. I'd make the two timelines very clear, so the books could continue, because they did have fans. They would have the Legends label on it, so that, you can see that's in that timeline, and the new timeline would have its own label. I don't know what I'd call it, but that's how I would have done it. But yeah, as far as this channel goes, I want fans from all aspects of Star Wars to feel welcome here, because there are people who were introduced to Star Wars because of the Disney stuff. I've had lots of people saying they've never heard of these books, but watching my videos has made them want to go out and buy them. And to me, that is important, because these are books I grew up with. I don't want them forgotten. And so if these videos encourage new fans to go out and find the books, buy them, read them, and they like them, they go out and buy more of them. And they get a lot more Star Wars stories to enjoy. So you don't have to like Star Wars Disney Star Wars to be here, but if you do, that's fine as well. I'm not going to hate on it. There are things I've liked and there are things I didn't like, but then that's also true of the old timeline. There are some books I really did not like from the Expanded Universe, And then there are some books I redid, like this one. I think it'd be called Canon, Non-Canon. Maybe. I don't know if I'd just call it canon, non-canon. I think I'd go for... I'm going to change the colour of that. I think I'd go for something a bit more Star Wars sounding, like Legends works as a name. So I think of something similar for the canon timeline. Just to make it clear to people who are buying the products that they knew what they were getting themselves into when they were buying them, if it was going to be related to the new movies or whatever, or not. Maybe something like the Old Republic thing, but still Star Wars. Well, the Old Republic was originally part of the expanded universe, and obviously they are still producing content for it. How it factors into the new timeline is still unclear because they haven't actually said one way or the other. Yeah, there we go. Infinities. Also a good name. Crazy, sorry, mate. You know, that's alright, you're here now. What's the difference? I know Thrawn has 2 alternative endings, right? So, the expanded universe timeline is... it's all the comics, books, and video games that were released from when A New Hope was released. They started producing the tie-in content back then, all the way up to the day that Disney bought Lucasfilm. And so they produced comics, and Splinter of the Mind's Eye is a novel that came out around the time in between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. And then after Return of the Jedi, it kind of went really quiet. There was the West End Games role-playing game, and that produced a lot of content. But nothing really happened until 1991, when Heir to the Empire was published. Now there's a whole story about how everyone thought Star Wars was a dead franchise, no one was interested. It became a the New York Times #1 bestseller, and suddenly there was a huge interest in Star Wars. And so suddenly there was lots of video games, lots of books, lots of comics, and everything released after Heir to the Empire was put together, and it kind of flowed. There were obviously some bits where it conflicted because there was so much material it was impossible to read everything. But for the most part, it lined up, and then the prequels came along, and they didn't necessarily line up with the expanded universe, but you could kind of make it work. But so that they just kept releasing more and more content up until the day that Disney bought Lucasfilm, and then it was all frozen. And then a couple of months later, they said that actually they were going to rebrand its Legends, and there'd be no more material released on that timeline because they wanted to focus on creating new stories, and that they would they could draw on Legends if they wanted to, and they have done. Not so much with the sequel trilogy, but Mandalorian, Rebels, obviously Ahsoka has brought in lots of stuff. From, obviously Thrawn, but lots of ships and planets have all been brought in from Legends. Strangely enough, Solo was the one that it's the one of the 5 movies that actually brought in more EU stuff than anything else. You just stipulate that they couldn't use Sith at first and Luke and Leia couldn't have a romance. That's probably a good thing that Luke and Leia didn't have a romance, considering how that turned out. Master Luke, it's good to see you. Master Luke here voices Luke in Heir to the Empire. It's always nice when the cast members stop by the stream. Renee, that's alright. It's nice to see you. Star Wars 108 was released recently in Legends timeline. I am going to make a note of that so I can look it up. Thank you. Yeah, I think the speed wing's done, so I'm just going to chat for a bit. The one thing I do want to do to this B-wing is create some normal map textures. They add some more detail. So like you've got these lines between the panels. Normal maps will actually make those. It's a texture trick, but it'll make it look like there actually is a gap between the panel. This B-wing doesn't have that. At least I don't. Hang on. I'm just going to check the textures that came with it, because if they do, I can add them in quickly. Otherwise, I have to produce my own, which takes a little while, and it's not the most exciting thing to watch, so I won't do it on the stream. But if they exist, oh, they do exist. Okay, what do you think when Thrawn made an appearance in Rebels after being unused for a while? I was at Celebration in London in 2016 when the Rebels panel was shown. I was actually at the Rebels panel, and they showed the trailer, and Thrawn was seen for the very first time in that room, and the entire crowd went nuts as soon as he stepped out of the shadows in that trailer. I still do not know how to describe that experience beyond that, I was there. And then of course there was the celebration recently this year where they showed the Ahsoka trailer, and we got to see Thrawn for the very first time, live action. And at that panel they showed his face, which is the same clip they used in the trailer released last week. He kind of just steps forward. So it was nice to see that in that trailer again, because I wanted to see his face again, because it was such a brief moment. Obviously you couldn't film it because they had strict rules about no cameras in there. So I just had my memory to go off of until last Tuesday. And I think it's quite funny that they actually did show that trailer, or release that trailer the day after we were talking about when an Ahsoka trailer might drop last week. So I originally wanted Soboth to be a failed clone of Obi-Wan, but Lucas said no. I think that Lucas made the right choice there. I can see why Timothy Zahn wanted to do it, but I think it's better he didn't do it. And I'd heard about the Nogri thing, he wanted to do the Sith, but that because he had his own idea of what the Sith should be, and it makes sense. But now we have to see what Disney says. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess the other thing is to do is watch Disney stuff. If you don't like it, stop watching. You can carry on enjoy watching. You can enjoy the stories that you had before. Disney aren't coming and taking them off your shelves. They're still there. That's basically it, really. I'm looking forward to seeing live action Thrawn. I've heard Ahsoka be described as Rebels Season 5. In my mind, Rebels is one of the best things that they've done. So here's what I mean by normal maps. Sorry to just digress here. See, it looks flat there. When I drop the normal map in, suddenly you get the extra little detail. What I should have done is probably done that first. So if I delete so I'm just experimenting with something here. It's a bit too shiny. Star Wars ships are not particularly shiny. Right, so if I do that and then I bring in the map, no, it didn't really work the way I wanted. Let's try that one. Nope, I need that one. Do you think we will see Imperial remnants making use of a technology to improve models of existing Imperial technology since they showed the Atlantis TIE Fighter in Mando? Probably. I imagine that we will see Thrawn making use of Imperial technology, probably modified. And improve. That's true to his character in the books as well, though. He was quite happy to take chips and material and modify them as needed. Other than the Naboo ships. Yeah, okay, the Naboo ships are very shiny. Alright, so what else have we got? Okay, I think that's that bit done. I wonder if we see live action TIE Defenders. I'd really like to see a live action TIE Defender. We did see the E-Wing in the trailer last week. Actually, this is something I want to discuss. I'm assuming you've all seen the Ahsoka trailer by now. The E-Wing comes in and it lands, and there's a green droid that makes a whistle sound. I am wondering if that is Whistler, and that Corran Horn was the pilot of that E-Wing. Because that's a very distinctive sound and very distinctive green droid. I know that he's designed based on the old Kenner toy, but the green colouring, Whistler's green and he whistles. So I couldn't help thinking about that. Also, we know that Corran Horn is in the Disney canon because he was introduced in Kenobi. And you don't have a child as a background character called Corran, and his mother had the same name as he does in the show. as in the expanded universe. But you don't do that as a background character if you're not going to do something. So I wonder if he's going to be in Ahsoka. That's my hope anyway. Oh, and in the X-Wing Miniatures game, Corran Horn is a pilot you get as a card for an E-Wing, not an X-Wing. Obviously we know he flies X-Wings in the books, so that was a little bit of a surprise, but then it came back to mind when I saw the trailer. I started thinking, yeah, I wonder if we're going to see Corran. It'd be nice. Lots of questions here. Have you seen Skyforge's new film Ambush at Dara 4? Yes, I did. That was a very impressive fight. Maybe you get access to the models. They look like they were made by ILM. I don't know if iClone could handle the quality of their models. They do look very impressive though. It would be nice to see if I could get them to work. But obviously I need lower quality models like this one for the big battle scenes. Because if they're, the ships are tiny like this, you can't see the detail anyway. You're not the first one to say that it's his droid. I can see that. I'm glad other people think about it too. I did do a review video, or an analysis video. It wasn't really a reaction video, but I did that last week because I just kept thinking about it. Was Baden Skull and Shinhul in Rebels? Was there significance in regards to the upcoming show, or is that too much to discuss? If so, that's fine. As far as I know, they are not any of the characters that appeared in Rebels. Now, I've seen Rebels all the way through. There's a 10-year difference of time jump between the end of season 4 and Ahsoka. So I don't think they're not in Rebels by those names. Of course, characters do change their names, so they could have been in there and just didn't know about it. But no, they're not in Rebels. I think they're new to Ahsoka. As far as I know, they're not in Clone Wars either, because they're making a reference to knowing Anakin. But again, they could have changed their identities. So I guess there isn't really anything to discuss. Cockpit. If they were in Rebels, they're probably background characters or characters that appeared only in one episode that you would never have expected them to be these new characters. But I think that's very unlikely. Just doesn't seem like it would work. But hey, you never know. Could be wrong. Alright. That needs to be double-sided again. Perhaps they could render the space scenes for you while you keep doing the character and ground shots. No. I like doing the space stuff. I know they do really good space stuff. I really enjoy doing my space stuff though. I have a lot of fun with the battles. I've already started doing the Sluis van stuff, so that's not. I get where you're coming from, but that's not an idea that's going to work for me because I have so much fun doing the space stuff. Also, one of the good things about doing the space stuff is I can work on it while I'm waiting for my voice actors to send me in dialogue. So I can still feel like I'm working on something. Like I'm here getting this model in. If they were doing, if I had someone else doing the space stuff, I wouldn't need to do this. So I wouldn't be streaming this tonight. Have you read the canon Thrawn novels? I read Thrawn recently, hoping to read Ascendancy for Ahsoka. I haven't finished. I'm still in the last book of Ascendancy, but I've read everything else, and I really enjoyed them. You can ever see Titan Squadron make an appearance in any other Star Wars content? I have no idea. Would you like to see Quinlan Voss at least in appearance? That would be cool. I read Legends books over the past 2 years. The canon references the Legend stuff regularly. He's in Clone Wars. He's also in the Phantom Menace. Quinlan Voss. I'm still to read Allegiance and Choices of One. I would highly recommend both of those books. Thrawn's in one of them as well. I forget which one offhand. But yeah, they're both very good, focused on Mara Jade. Well, I think the B-Wing's done. Yeah, Quinlan Voss. He was in Clone Wars. He's in Dark Disciple 2. It was adapted from 8 cancelled Clone Wars episodes. And I didn't get around to reading that book. But that's good to know. Maybe I should, because it goes nicely with Clone Wars. But yeah, he was in a couple of episodes. And he's in crowd scene at the pod race in Phantom Menace, and his name gets mentioned in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. You don't see him, but Obi-Wan talks about him. Master Voss did something or other, I can't remember. It's obviously after the siege of Coruscant. Yeah, in the Jedi Temple. He is way better in Dark Disciple compared to Clone Wars. Far closer to his Legends comics appearance. Okay. I guess with the book they had a bit more leeway to be darker. Clone Wars, after all, it did get very dark in places. So did Rebels, actually. But they still have to keep in mind that kids watch the show. Well, look, Clone Wars did some really brutal stuff at sometimes. Some of the Horrors of War episodes that they did. I have to watch episode 1, I guess. He's in a. It's the pod race sequence. He's in the crowd. He doesn't really do anything. So just watch the pod race bit and look out for him. I think he's next to Warwick Davis, or near Warwick Davis, because Warwick Davis is quite clearly visible in the crowd as well. Pong Krell. Yeah, Pong Krell was dark. And the episode where Fives, or the story arc where Fives learns the truth about the clone the chips in the clone trooper heads. That was really dark, and I guess the final season, once you get to the Order 66 build up, that was pretty dark as well. Boss is also in the background on the table and Qui-Gon walks past. It's blinking, you kind of miss it though. All of season 7 was pretty... Yes, that's true. I guess it kind of had to be because it was building right into Revenge of the Sith, leading straight into it and taking place alongside it. Rebels could be pretty dark as well though, especially season 4. I've been rewatching it over the last few weeks to be prepared for Ahsoka, and I've been really enjoying it again. But I'm not prepared for season 4. It's hard to be prepared for season 4. The zombie Geonosians are also really creepy. Oh, I'd forgotten about that story arc. Twilight of the Apprentice too. It's so good though. I watched that episode 2 days ago. I remember the first time I watched that thinking, how did they get away with doing this? Because I would have thought Disney wouldn't let them. But they did, and it was a very powerful episode. But I'm on to season 3 now, and of course you got Thrawn in that. Patchwork pictures late to the stream, and you probably already covered it. What do you think of Andor? I really enjoyed Andor. Gabriel, keep it up, man. Love from Sweden. Well, hello. I'm in the UK, so you're not that far away from me. But also means you're up really late, because that's supposed to be about 3 AM for you. Andor. I really enjoyed Andor. It was a very grown-up story. Nice to see a very gritty, grounded story arc and the beginning of the rebellion. Can't wait to see season 2. Obviously they've stopped filming that now with the actors' strike, which I fully support. The fact that Andor made a single TIE fighter scary again is good to see. It was. As much as fun as lightsabers are, it's nice to focus on characters that don't have any. Just tell a story about normal people trying to live in the world of Star Wars under the brutal Imperial regime, and seeing what pushes them to the point of they've had enough and they want to rise up. I thought Bad Batch was great too. Both seasons have some dud episodes, but when they're good, they're really great. Yeah, I've enjoyed Bad Batch as well. I think season 2 had a slow start. I get what they were trying to do is show the Bad Batch just trying to keep their heads down, but also try and figure out how to survive in the galaxy. But I think they spent a little bit too long on that before the story really picked up. But when the story did pick up, it got really good again. And obviously you've got season 3 coming at some point next year, which is going to be the last season. So I imagine that's going to have a brutal ending, because we never hear from the Bad Batch again. What do you think when the TIE Defender first appeared? I thought it brought back lots of memories playing TIE Fighter, and it was really nice to see one in action. And Yeah, I'm glad they brought the TIE Defender back. Do you think he is gone? No. I think he survived, probably injured, and was captured, but I don't think he's gone. I didn't realise next season's last. Yeah, they announced it at Celebration that season 3 would be the final one. I keep hearing people saying they're going to pull the Bucky. I don't know if they give him a robot arm, but I think he's still around. ABC Cinema Echo, I think he's gone. Well, I guess we'll find out next year when they release the episodes. Now, I would suspect that all the voice acting was done, so the actors' strike isn't going to affect the production time of Bad Batch, because you need the voice acting before you can animate the characters, so they do that way in advance because the animation takes a long time. So that's probably the one Star Wars show. Well, and Skeleton Crew, that was finished filming as well, so that's safe. Ahsoka's obviously finished and safe, and Bad Batch is going to be safe because it's animated. And I think the rules for animation are different from live action, so we'll see about that. To be honest, I think if he does survive, the best way to bring him back is to Jack 14, who does exist in canon, and I think he would fit perfectly in just by Clone himself. Maybe. Again, I think we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully not wait too long. I know it's next year. I didn't get to see that panel at Celebration, but one of my friends did, and they told me what they saw. There's a teaser trailer and the date, which was next year. I don't remember exactly when. I do get your point about the sacrifice, though. Jack 14 is canon. I thought he was Lego only. Which individual Zahn book do you think is the best? That's a hard question to answer. Timothy Zahn's best stories are the ones that span multiple books. So, not just Heir to the Empire, but the whole Thrawn trilogy all works together. So, but if you want me to specify one book, I can't name that trilogy, like any one book in that trilogy, because I like the whole story. And it's the same with the Hand of Thrawn duology. I really like both books, but they're both you need both books. So if you want Timothy Zahn's story, I'd say the Thrawn trilogy, followed very closely by the Hand of Thrawn. Excuse me. Hand of Thrawn duology, but I'm treating those as individual stories, like whole stories, rather than the books that make them up. How essential is it that you read the books in a certain order? I would say you need to read the Thrawn trilogy before you read the Hand of Thrawn books. Because the Hand of Thrawn books are basically a sequel story to the Thrawn trilogy, so you need to follow that. The other Timothy Zahn books from the expanded universe, you got a bit more flexibility on how you read them. Although you probably want to read Spectre of the Past, not Spectre of the Past. What's the one that goes with Outbound Flight? That's the newer Thrawn, not the Ascendancy, right? No, I'm talking about the expanded universe. These are the old books. I'll cover the new books in a minute. It's not Spectre... Survivor's Quest, okay. That's it. You need to read Survivor's Quest after the Hand of Thrawn books, because it takes place in the aftermath of it. And a lot of stuff that happens in that won't make sense until the Hand of Thrawn books. So you need to read those in that particular order. And then you can read the others in any order you like. The two Mara Jade books, read those in the order they're published as well, because one sets up the next one. Anyway, the newer books. Obviously, when you're reading the trilogy, there's two trilogies. There's the Thrawn and then there's Ascendancy. I don't think it matters too much which way round you read the trilogies, but you should read the books of those trilogies in order. Yeah, publication order is definitely the best way. This is the safest way. But if you're going to just read the canon books, you don't need to worry about the Legends books. The canon books are written in a way that, for the most part, you can imagine them taking place in either timeline. Timothy Zahn was pretty clever at writing them that way. Obviously there are references to the canon timeline in the canon books, but you can just ignore those. If you prefer the expanded universe timeline. The Just Law is a mystery in the 2017 trilogy, but it's spoiled by Ascendancy. That's a good point. The Ascendancy books do go a lot into the Chiss culture. Have you read The Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader books? They're probably my favourite post-Order 66 books, and also very dark. I have not, actually. I found the prequel era books a little bit harder to get into than the original trilogy era books. Is that a bad thing? I like the exploration of the Chiss culture. Because the Ascendancy books take place in the Chiss Ascendancy, hence the name. So obviously that's why you're going to learn a lot about them. So it depends if you want to know more about the Chiss or not. Hi Floopy, good to see you. I still think it's funny that we were discussing when an Ahsoka trailer might be released last week, and then the next day it was. Darth Vader basically hunts down Jedi and it's a lot of fun. I'd read in publication order if, for both timelines, you could skip Allegiance, Choices of One, Scoundrels after reading canon if you want. I enjoyed Allegiance and Choices of One. Scoundrels was a lot of fun, but it wasn't really what I'm used to with a Zahn book. but it was very good. It doesn't really add anything to the galaxy itself, but it is a fun adventure. I do prefer his other books, but I'm glad he had a chance to write something a bit different in the Star Wars world. Darth Vader basically hunts down Jedi, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, I might have to check that out sometime. Lucasfilm is listening. Alright, Lucasfilm, if you are listening, what we'd like next is an early release of Ahsoka, so that we can start watching it straight away. Don't know if you already discussed the trailer yet. We had a bit of a discussion about it, but I'm happy to go back to it. Are these choices of one don't really add anything to kind of Thrawn appearances at all, though? True, that is true. Thrawn is in choices of one. Actually, his appearance in Choices of One adds a little bit to the other Thrawn, the canon books, because the Vigari pirates are part of it, which he mentions again in the new canon books. Whereas stuff from the other Thrawn books is referenced all the time in canon. Yeah, the other books are definitely more important. But if you just want the complete Timothy Zahn experience, read all of it, but in publication order. Well, it's getting late. I've been chatting for well over an hour. So I think it might be cool to see the way Mount Tantus being used in canon. Yeah, as soon as that mountain appeared in Bad Batch, I thought, I know what that is. Also, when the Bad Batch characters are trying to figure out they need to find this secret facility, I keep thinking, it's on the planet Wayland. But obviously you can't tell the characters that. Yeah, so it's getting a bit late. I've been chatting for ages. It's, as always, has been a lot of fun talking to you all. I need to give another shout out to Captain Spire and to Geek Squadron for their generous super chats. As always, anytime someone supports the channel like that, I do appreciate it. I'm sure we could stay here chatting about potential Star Wars stories all night, about how it's all going to link together. I'm excited to see what's happening. It's nice to see that these projects do actually have a direction to them now. Right, you get the feel that they are related, and even though Bad Batch takes place decades before Mando and the Ahsoka, it feels like they're connected. So yeah, thank you all for coming. Next week I am not going to be here. I am actually going to be away for a week, so I will not be streaming, but I'll be back after that. But as always, it's been a pleasure talking to all of you, but working on this B-Wing, discussing Star Wars. So yeah, take care, may the Thrawn be with you, and I will see you when I get back. Have a good night, and take care.